As we began 2022, I had a strange feeling about the year. That may not be an easy year for us, and sure enough, we started with Omicron outbreaks, and then Russia invaded Ukraine, and then we were going into 2022 elections, and racial tensions were continuing, and then gas prices went through the roof, and $5 a dozen for eggs. I mean, it was just, it just kept going on in 22. You know, in spite of the difficult conditions in the world around us, God's favor, His grace upon us, I mean, I just saw it all through our church life that year. As you know, our first core value is to have hearts that are hungry for the Lord, and I deeply believe that if we keep that first, if we live out that in a wholehearted way, that God comes and fills in every other place, that we need His help. Whether it's His help with volunteers, His help with finances, His help with ministry advance, fruitfulness. And thank God for His faithfulness. This is His church. I keep reminding the Lord, and He keeps reminding me, this is His church, not my church, not even our church. It's His church. He loves this church. He bought it with His blood, and He's for us and not against us. So we experienced some wonderful things. I love the fact that at the beginning of 2022, we really saw our monthly nights of worship and prayer kick in strongly. And they just have grown through this year. They've been powerful times of God's presence. We've been adding baptisms in. We've seen children, young people, young adults be baptized. It's been wonderful. And we have encountered the presence of God. We need to keep filling heaven with the incense of our prayer. And in addition to that kind of growth, we added many different aspects, especially in our small group life. This was an unexpected blessing out of COVID, where we had to find other ways to connect. And now, this past year, we exceeded 50 groups that we know of. And then people keep coming up to me and saying, oh yeah, I'm a part of a small group too. It's not really registered with the church, but we get together, we pray. This is what makes us grow as a church family in a powerful way. And we're so grateful that Liz Wright joined our staff this past year, working with Pastor Anthony as our small groups director. And we're looking at ways in which we can be great at being small. We've also seen growth in our Sunday morning group, quite a bit of growth in the number of Sunday morning groups, classes, groups that meet together. Sundays sometimes are a very convenient time for groups to meet, just because there's childcare there and it's time efficient. You're going to be here anyway for a service. Also, there's online resources for our congregation that expanded in 2022. All of our Sunday services are available live stream through the online campus, and I appreciate the technical folks we have, our team here at the church, as well as the pastors that volunteer to host and miss our main service live, but they host those services. And full service videos are available afterwards on YouTube. And the Central Moment, that's my 5 to 6 minute daily devotional, that's continuing. I think we've done 800 of them so far. We started the week we shut down in March 2020, and thank God for that. They're available on YouTube. Thank God for the people who continue to watch, who say, that's become a part of my day on a regular basis. I also do a half-hour podcast every week with Chase Raplogli, and we just have numerous resources out there that are available to us. And it was especially fun going with Colin Ray and people from our Church of the Holy Lands. And Colin and I, with his help, we were able to do a whole week of Central Moments right from the Holy Land, as well as the Sunday morning service. So we have just these amazing kind of new steps we've taken this past year. And then we started on Wednesday night in the fall of 2022 with what we call Scriptures with Pastor Jim. These nights offer kind of a deeper dive into a passage of Scripture, pure Scripture study. We use a video-based teaching format that provides some technical tools that are not usually available to us in a live presentation. And then people gather and talk and pray together afterwards. It's turned out to be just a wonderful, fulfilling thing for me. Started last fall with walking through the Sermon on the Mount. And each of those teachings is available afterwards on YouTube for anyone to watch. And especially we're hoping there'll be a resource ongoingly for small groups that are meeting as well. Here are a few of our staff pastors, though, to share for just a few more of of the other highlights that are happening at other levels in the life of our congregation.
"2022 saw a resumption of many in-person activities at Central as we emerged more fully from the pandemic footing, and an important part of the year was special services and events. These special days give us a chance to all connect together as a church family and are a great opportunity to invite friends to experience the life of our church. The Easter season featured a Palm Sunday worship night, Good Friday service, and Easter Sunday services with over 2,000 people in attendance in person and online. We all appreciate Pastor Josh Schaefer and the Central Worship community for their work on these special services and for making Sundays great each week. Easter at Central also saw the return of our Walk the Last Week with Jesus event for the first time since 2019. This interactive exhibit traces Jesus' movements and activities each day of the week leading up to his crucifixion and features real artifacts from ancient Israel and other displays that allow us to see more clearly Jesus' experiences that last week of his earthly life. The self-guided tour ends with an opportunity for prayer and communion with a pastor. Over 800 people attended across 2 nights. 2022 also brought us some special combined services in the summer. We welcomed recording artist Sarah Groves for Mother's Day and local pastor and author Chase Replogle for Father's Day. Our Let It Rain service on July 3rd was a wonderful morning of worship and prayer for our nation. Then we launched a new event in summer of 2022 called Summer at the Ballpark. This event relocated our Wednesday activities to Hammons Field for one night of fun and fellowship. Central's worship choir sang the national anthem, and Pastor Jim threw out the first pitch. Over 500 people from our church family were a part of that night. And then fall brought us our second annual Fall at the Farm event at Rutledge Wilson Farm Park. This event has become a family favorite where we gather at the park for a night of fall fun and fellowship and activities for all ages, from toddlers to senior adults and every age in between. An estimated 650 people attended that night. Finally, the Christmas season is always a highlight of any year at Central, and 2022 was no exception to that. Central Worship kicked off the Christmas season in a big way with a music event called God With Us that featured our own musicians and kids as well as guest musicians from the area. And later in December, we celebrated with our all-church family Christmas party. This event brought our entire church together for a night of fun and fellowship, reflecting on Jesus' birth. Our preschool and elementary kids presented music, and longtime preschool teacher Miss Edith Kaiser read the Christmas story before a time of food and games in the lobby. It was such a great night. Our last in-person service of the year was the Christmas Eve candlelight service. It was a wonderful night for our entire church family, kids and adults together, to gather and reflect on Jesus' birth. Central family, I know you were just as excited as I was to be part of these special events last year. Each of these events required an army of volunteers to make them happen smoothly and effectively. So thank you to all who served at each of these and throughout the year. And thanks for linking arms in our community at these special events and in so many other ways in the life of our church.
"2022 was an exciting year in our family ministries area. Our family ministries team at Central works together to coordinate discipleship for kids from birth to high school and to help partner with parents to see these children connect to God, others, and their purpose in life. We began the year with some vacancies and key positions in this team, but the Lord honored our search processes, and we made some great hires during the year. In the summertime, we welcomed Pastor Chris Noble and his wife Kiera and their kids to Central as our high school pastor, and they have been an incredible addition to our team. Pastor Chris hit the ground running with summer events and helped us launch an amazing back-to-school season in the fall. I appreciate the work he and middle school pastor Casey Ray do to serve our students and their families so well. On the kids side of things, Pastor Jill McDaniel had stepped into the role of interim elementary pastor in the fall of 2021 as we searched for a new elementary pastor for our team. After an extensive national search and several conversations with Pastor Jill, we were excited to remove intern from her title late in the summer. At the same time, we welcomed Amelia Umbenhauer into a part-time associate elementary pastor role to work with Pastor Jill in this important area. Pastor Jill and Pastor Amelia and their team do a wonderful job working with our kids to develop the foundation for lifelong discipleship. Also, last fall, we expanded our Family Ministries team to include Pastor Daniel Guy and the College and Young Adults Ministries. These staffing and structural changes gives us a wonderful team of pastors and staff to look strategically, practically, and prayerfully at how we can best help our young people grow and develop spiritually at every age, from birth to young adulthood. That team had a busy year last year as we saw growth and attendance and participation across every age group in Family Ministries. This includes Sunday morning classes for all ages, elementary through college, kids service on Sunday, and youth services and kids activities on Wednesdays, as well as numerous special events. That growth and participation necessitated an increase in volunteer activity in our family programs. And I want to say thank you to each of you who give of your time to minister to our kids, youth, and young adults. Your investment in these young people will pay eternal dividends. We also saw many special events and activities resume across our family area last year. This was especially noticeable in the summer with numerous options for camps and activities. We hosted a day camp for kids and participated in district camps for both kids and youth. We also launched new hangout events for kids and youth students to have opportunities to connect together outside of our regular service times. And in the fall, Central Youth resumed a retreat weekend to get away for focused time of worship, prayer, and teaching. Other fun events we launched in 2022 was our Kids Night In event in February. The Friday evening of the weekend of Valentine's Day, we hosted activities at the church for all of our age groups at the same time. And we had a great time with age-appropriate activities like bounce houses for preschool and elementary in the multipurpose hall, and youth activities in the activity center. And this Kids Night In meant that parents could have a night out. It was so great to hear how parents took advantage of this time to connect with each other and with friends. It was such a fun night that we immediately planned to continue this event in future years. I just want to say it's a joy and privilege for me to get to work with our wonderful Family Ministries team. I appreciate the expertise and skills that each person on the team brings to their role and the love and care they show our kids, parents, and volunteers. And I know I speak for each of them when I say how wonderful it is to get to work with the incredible kids and students at Central. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to minister to these great kids.
Well, 2022 was an especially significant year for Central financially as we reached a major milestone. We paid off our long-term mortgage indebtedness in full. And this moment has been years in the making. We've carried some sort of mortgage indebtedness here since 2004. The mortgage amount has fluctuated over the years, but that mortgage allowed us to take on several key projects that were necessary for our ministries to function effectively. The mortgage funds address new construction like the Activity Center, major renovations like the multipurpose hall, and some deferred maintenance like asbestos abatements in older parts of our buildings and major roof and HVAC updates. In 2016, we undertook a major initiative to accelerate retirement of this debt by launching the 2020 program. Over the 5-year period from 2016 to 2020, we saw our debt reduced by over $2 million, from over $3.2 million to $1.2 million. And that program also helped us address some facilities projects that were much needed, as well as give some money to a Bible school construction project in Europe. In 2021, we launched the Finish Line project to do just what the name says, to get us to the finish line of this debt. The goal of this program was to completely retire the debt in 2 years, and that would be 3 years ahead of our amortization schedule. Well, we did it. We paid down $1.2 million in right at 24 months, and the final payment on this note was made in December of 2022. We celebrated by burning the promissory note in a special service earlier this year. And I can't say thank you enough to all who participated in these debt retirement programs and gave with open hands to help us secure a bright financial future for our church family. And we're so excited about where we can go from here. While retiring the debt is by far the biggest financial milestone of the year, there are several other great things to report about our finances. We have so much to be thankful for here at Central. Our tithe and general fund giving remains strong in 2022. The tithe is at 10% of our money that we give back to God, and this funds the regular operations of our church. Although our tithe income dropped slightly from last year, it was still a strong year relative to previous years, and we finished within $10,000 of our projected tithe budget amount. Our footprint fund is where we give over and above the tithe to make a God-sized footprint in our world. This is where we can put our money to work, so to speak, to propel God's mission in the world around us. In 2022, undesignated footprint fund giving saw a 14% increase over 2021, surpassing $300,000 for the first time. Each year, the Assemblies of God National Office gives us a report on total giving attributed to Central. That includes funds donated by individuals in our congregation directly to AG ministries and missions work. Well, this number is, again, well over $1 million in 2022. And in fact, this year it made us the number 20 ranked church in the entire Assemblies of God for world missions giving. And in case you're wondering, we're not in the top 20 for church attendance. Early in the year, we were also able to acquire another piece of property west of the Activity Center along Lion Street. This purchase would not have happened without the bylaw amendment we passed in 2021 that increased the board's ability to negotiate on property purchases. This means we now own 8 contiguous lots in the block west of the Activity Center. Our treasurer, Kenton DeVries, is coming later in this meeting to share more details about our financial reports that are included in your booklet. Kenton is a true blessing to our church, bringing a wealth of knowledge and experience in financial services and banking to the treasurer role here. And we wouldn't be in the strong position we are in financially without his work. I deeply value Kenton's leadership and his friendship in the years that we've been able to work together. I'd also like to express my appreciation and thanks to our finance office staff here. Keith Morgan joined our staff team as Director of Business and Finance in 2021, and this past year he began work to overhaul the software and systems in our accounting department. This is a complicated task, but the changes we are making will serve us well into the future and will increase our capacity to effectively manage the growth we've seen in our finances in recent years. Lastly, I'd like to thank each of you who give faithfully to support the ministries here at Central. In 2 Corinthians 8:7, Paul reminds us that just as we seek excellence in the other areas of our spiritual lives, we should also excel in the grace of giving. Thank you for being a congregation that lives this verse out so well. It's an honor to get to serve you. Thank you.
– 2022 was an exciting year in our global footprint missions activities. Pastor Carter mentioned the growth in footprint giving, and that growth in giving fueled a growth in activity throughout the year related to both projects and missionary support. The conflict in Ukraine struck early in the year, causing a refugee crisis in surrounding nations. Central's Footprint Fund was ready to respond with an immediate gift to the Pentecostal Union of Moldova, as well as Convoy of Hope, in the very first days of the crisis. We continued supporting the refugee work in Moldova throughout the year, and in May, we welcomed our friend Bishop Victor Pavlovsky to share in a Sunday service about the ongoing efforts there. A key project for the Footprint Fund in 2022 was helping launch a church plant in Saint-Malo, France, working with local church planters through missionaries George and Debbie Flattery. We helped cover costs related to equipment, rent, and pastoral income for a young but vibrant congregation on France's north coast. Another goal for our Footprint Fund is to underwrite an annual ministry trip where participants from our congregation can use their ministry gifts to help support the work of one of our supported missionaries or ministries. Our first Signature Footprint event happened in the summer with a ministry trip to Naples, Italy. Missionaries Joe and Mary Benacasa former members of Central Assembly asked for our help to staff an outreach VBS event in the inner city of Naples. We were able to assemble a team of our own experienced and talented kids ministry volunteers to work with Joe and Mary and the local church in Napoli. The trip was an amazing success, with several kids accepting Jesus for the first time. The trip was also a great opportunity to build relationships with the local church leaders there and to minister in churches even beyond the VBS events. We express our thanks to each member of the team who gave up their time to travel and serve. We think that this trip has just scratched the surface of what we can do with this kind of trip, and we look forward to more in the future. In addition to these great projects, we continue our monthly missionary support for around 200 different missionary units throughout the year. Our monthly support enables missions activities impacting the entire world, from church plants in our own neighborhood, to campus ministers across the United States, to Bible schools training indigenous church leaders, and to missionaries on each continent of the globe. The sun never sets on the missions activities Central Assembly supports. As we expanded our footprint efforts last year, we also expanded the team that helps us manage our footprint work. This group of people helps with interviewing and vetting new missionary candidates for monthly support, with researching new project opportunities, and with maintaining ongoing communication and relationships with our supported missionaries. I couldn't do the work of Global Footprint without their important contributions and partnership, and I thank each of them for their investment of time. Finally, our Fall Footprint celebration this past year was a special one. We featured 2 young missionary couples who grew up in our church. It was wonderful to hear them share about not only the work that they do now in the field, but also the impact that Central and many of you have made on their lives during their years here. They serve as a great reminder that God's plan, both for us as individuals and for our church family, is truly bigger than anything we can see. We are truly leaving a God-sized footprint in the world around us.
Well, these items represent just a few of the many examples of God's faithfulness and favor. We've been experiencing faithfulness and favor from God in 2022, and it's especially incredible to be debt-free as a church, finally. And as I present this report to you, I just want to echo that gratitude you heard from Pastor Carter for your faithfulness, your giving, your amazing work to help pay off our mortgage. And I'm excited to see the ways in which God will use the financial freedom of being debt-free to impact the world around us. Already we're adding missionaries. We're able to redeploy resources to critical needs. I'm deeply grateful for the amazing staff team now I'm privileged to work with. Each one of our pastors and staff serves selflessly. I see it behind the scenes. They serve selflessly because they love this congregation and want to support the work and want people to grow. And I just deeply value their partnership. The names of our ministry staff and the wonderful elected board that I work with. It's been such a blessing this last year. They're listed near the front of your packet tonight. Also grateful to the Lord for such a wonderful congregation that you are in totality. You seek the Lord with hungry hearts. I'm watching you more and more have those attentive eyes to people coming in. I hear all the time from first-time visitors, man, it's so friendly. People actually talk to me when I came in. And then your linked arms, how we're doing ministry in groups and teams, and your open hands as you're giving. We saw a marked increase in our footprint giving last year. These are open hands to touch our world. And together, we continue to make a God-sized footprint in our world. That's thanks to God, His Spirit among us, and your faithfulness. Truly great days are ahead for the church. It's a joy to be your pastor as we journey together into the bright future that God has for us here at Central Assembly. May God bless you.